following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, in Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco, and across the moat from Oakland in the northern part of what I consider to be either the best or the second best state in the country. I was born and raised in New York, and I came out here via the Air Force. So I'm not going to argue with myself about which is the best state. I stayed out in California, so I obviously made that decision a long time ago. But you can take the boy out of New York, but you better not forget the Mann Act. No relation, all right, no relation to my first guest this evening, a returning guest to the zone. No relation in the joke as far as I know. I trust that Matthew DiBiase has stayed out of trouble over the years.
Hey, baby, yeah, I'm still alive, man. Against all odds, man, I'm still alive. Don't ask me how or why, man. They haven't killed me yet, man.
My philosophy has always been they could shoot you, but they can't eat you.
Well, given the savages that we saw last Wednesday, I don't know about that.
Well, it's next Wednesday that scares me. It's not last Wednesday. That was scary enough, but the unknown contributes to the fear. And they're talking about armed rebellion, armed rioting against the Capitol, not only the federal Capitol, but the state capitals, all 50 of them.
Yep, yeah, I think this coming weekend, starting on Saturday, they're going to, our protesters will be marching in all 50 state capitals and D.C., though it's going to be interesting. I mean, you've got National Guard called out. They got the troops called out in D.C. and they got the fences up. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays along. But, I mean, Ralph, don't be surprised if in some of those state capitals you hear those people start talking secession, like in Texas or in Florida, given the fact that Abbott and DeSantis are still, working towards the Fuhrer and all that. Don't be surprised if you hear secession talk and all that. I mean, hey, and thing is, Ralph, 160 years ago, I mean, you're getting anniversaries. I mean, last month, 160th anniversary of South Carolina seceding. Just a couple of days ago, I think Saturday was like the 160th anniversary of Mississippi seceding, Florida seceding, Alabama. I mean, 160 years, on,
Is that a threat? Is that a threat or a promise?
It could be both. I mean, it all depends on the situation. I mean, there's this one group that said if the Fuhrer is ousted before his term ends, they're going to do armed violence. They got contracts out on President-elect Biden, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, Speaker Pelosi. I mean, they made no bones about it. I mean, they will commit bloodshed, armed revolt, and all that. In a sense, it's just the Trumpites are showing their Nazi core, their fascist, Nazi, racist core, as it were. I mean, Ralph, you saw those T-shirts. That one guy, Camp Auschwitz. The other guy, that Proud Boys thing, 6MWE, 6 million Jews were not enough. I mean, there it is, my friend. There it is.
Well, at least they're admitting to the fact that there was a Holocaust. There are folks that all over the world that are Holocaust deniers. So you got to give them credit for one step up from an idiot is a moron.
Yeah.
But it's one step, a little at a time.
I know.
My feeling is that in the long run, because people are not wearing masks, and most of them will not consent to being vaccinated for one reason or another, we're going to have something equivalent to the 1918 Spanish flu, and we're going to lose a lot of people. And we've already lost a lot of people. So, but picture 10 times that, 15 times that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it, I think in many ways, Trump wants the virus to keep the COVID to keep perpetuating itself because he's hoping that it would destabilize society to such an extent that it would makes it ripe for a fascist, a fascist overthrow. I mean, you notice he didn't get vaccinated. Everyone else got vaccinated. Pence got vaccinated. Pelosi, President-elect Biden, at all, got vaccinated.
Didn't he have COVID? Didn't he have COVID, and didn't he take a specialized treatment and what have you? He may not need to be vaccinated because of the antibodies. But what he does need to do, even though he can't, it won't hurt him if he gets it. It will, if he transmits it, it will potentially kill somebody someday.
He probably already has. Yeah, he already has. And the thing is, how do we know that he actually got cured, Ralph? How do we know? We have only his people say so, and how do you really know he's cured? I think, Ralph, I don't know if we talked about this, months ago. I think he's always been sick with COVID. I bet you he's had it for a while, and I think those reports of people in the White House who tested positive, like in May and June, I think they all got it from him. And I think he's been a carrier for quite some time. And even though he went to that thing in Walter Reed, at Bethesda and all that, who knows whether he really, really got cured. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's trying desperate to perpetuate COVID-19 in the hopes that it will not be eradicated, that it will continue to kill off people, particularly non-white people.
Old people like myself, and people of color.
Yeah, especially non-white people, especially that. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why he went slow in the first place, because to him, hey, it's committing genocide on the cheap. You think about it.
Well, you want a good analogy? Ronald Reagan covering up, not doing anything about the spread of AIDS. And who did that most affect? Needle users and Hispanic. And gays.
And the gay community. Community. LGBTQ, man. I mean, the thing is, they still don't have a cure. There is no cure for AIDS, sad to say. Sadly, they still haven't found the cure for that.
And that's why it's really a miracle that they don't have a cure for COVID, but they have a vaccine that's incredibly effective given the short period of time that it took to develop it, but they can't even get it distributed properly. They can get it distributed, but they can't get it into people's arms. And like I say, the black community especially is very skeptical of what the white man serves up as medicine, and you really can't blame them.
I think it's the lack of, and it's a lack of, a centralized social medicine, like the British, or Europeans have. I mean, theirs is far more efficient because, again, you've got a national health, and the fact that we don't have a national health, and in a sense, you could almost say that it's crying out that we got to have a national health. I mean, a centralized thing where you could distribute
Biden is behind the times on that, and wait until these insurance companies start charging, or people don't have insurance to pay for COVID, and the co-costs are going to be outrageous, and that's going to bankrupt a whole bunch of people. We are going down the frickin' tubes, incredibly fast on about 7 different levels.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, and here's another thing what worries me. What happens if these domestic terrorists try to destroy, those pharmacies that have the vaccine, in other words, to deny people, or try to hijack shipments, What happens if they try that? I mean, as a way of destabilizing society. I mean, I kind of worry about that idea as well,
Or making it go black market and charging outrageous prices.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But I think there's going to be the biggest wave of domestic terrorism in American history. I mean, starting with Bill Clinton, it started with him. There was that massive uptick, in domestic terrorism. I mean, you had Ruby Ridge, you had Oklahoma City and all that. And under President Obama, again, you had a massive uptick in domestic terrorism. But I think, 9 days from now when Joe Biden gets sworn in, I think you're really going to see the biggest outburst of domestic terroristic violence in American history. Because I think it's going to be warfare. And the thing is, hopefully they increase the budget to the Justice Department because they've got so many wars to fight. You've got to combat the domestic terrorists. You've got to go after the Russian money to prevent Russian interference in our elections. You've got to reinvigorate the Civil Rights Division, to guarantee minority voting rights and also minority civil rights, monitoring police. You've got to have massive police reform. And also, you've got to investigate Trump and his cohorts and their crimes. They got to do it, Ralph. They got to go after them. Somehow,
and if you're not feeling a tad bit upset about all the things you mentioned, there were 2 policemen, state policemen, or in guards of guarding
Capitol Police,
guarding the Capitol, that were in cahoots with the rioters. And not only that, there was a Philadelphia detective who was in your hometown, who was at the rally accused of
being a participant
on these guys, being a participant. So you got the cops who were filmed, a bunch of them were filmed cohorting with these people. During the so-called demonstration. And that's exactly what Trump will call, if he's ever in a court of law and he's asked, well, here's some films, and it shows you coercing these people to go riot. And he'll say, not to riot. I meant them to fight on. I didn't mean them to riot or anything. And that's very tough to prove.
Oh,
so
I know. The thing with the Philadelphia detective is they're not sure. I mean, technically they were there, but the thing is, was that detective part of the penetration of the Capitol building, the assault on the Capitol Police? I mean, there's one thing to be at the thing, but were you when they penetrated the walls there? I forget if it's a he or she. Was this person, did that person penetrate the walls and take part in that assault? That's the key. I mean, thing is, you've got the FOP, alibying for him. I mean, I'm not surprised by all this. Don't laugh, Ralph. 3 years ago, I remember watching on MSNBC. Trump had a secret fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago, and he was bragging to people that, one, I got the cops, I got the soldiers, and I got the bikers all in my hip pocket. So I'm not surprised that you got all this police, this clandestine police sympathy. You saw some of those people opening up the barricades to let the attackers through. I mean, you're seeing people alibying, making excuses. Like in Michigan, the state of Michigan, when they tried to do that commando raid, last summer, there was one of the guys arrested. There was a local cop who was a friend of one of the guys arrested, one of the conspirators, and he was making excuses for the guy. Oh, he wasn't really doing what they say he was really doing. He was covering up for him. nakedly
Right.
covering up for him. He was the chief of police in the town where the guy, that one of the head honcho of that conspiracy, was living and all that, and he was covering up for him. And I think it's going to be interesting this coming weekend to see which cops are really upholding the law and which ones, are letting these guys get away with murder, as it were. It reminds me of that opening scene. Remember the 73 movie Billy Jack with Tom Laughlin as Billy Jack? In the opening scene, he confronts some rich businessman and a local sheriff, a corrupt local sheriff, who are illegally hunting on Indian land. And the corrupt businessman said, "Hey, Billy, I got the law with me. You can't do anything to me." And Billy Jack said, "When lawmen break the law, then there is no law, just the desperate fight for survival." And I think we're in that situation right now. I mean, because, hey, if you got lawmen who refuse to uphold the law and and protect the public trust, then guess what, my friend? We are in a desperate fight for survival, all of us. Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that. That is,
I know. It's bad,
very
man.
well
I mean,
put.
it's bad. Yeah. I mean, it's scary. The thing is, man, we got to stop it, and we do everything we can to put a stop to it. I mean, we got to, the only
Matthew, can you imagine how scary it would have been if Trump had won the election?
Yeah, because I think something like this would still happen anyway, because there would still be retribution against those who voted against him. I mean, no matter what, there was going to be retribution, no matter what. But he thought he could pull off a steal, and guess what? It didn't happen. Democracy worked. And now he's got to destroy everybody. He's got to destroy Congress. He has to destroy the courts. Basically, he has to destroy everything in America, basically make it a wasteland and call it progress and success. And who knows? I mean, it could be, this weekend could be the start of the Second American Civil War, as it were. I mean,
I was thinking that while you were talking. It's as close to being a civil war as anything you can describe.
Yeah, and not just a civil war, but a race war as well, considering the types of people that his followers. I mean, what they want. They want to kill, non-white people. They want to kill Jews. They want to kill Catholics, intellectuals. They in short, everyone except their own kind, as it were. Just make this whole country a wasteland. Literally the Dark Ages all over again.
Well, these people aren't wearing masks, and they're obviously not keeping social distance.
Yeah.
So hopefully the COVID gets them before they get us.
Yeah, I hope so. Man, I won't wish it on anyone, but because I've got some distant relatives of mine who've taken sick. Luckily, no one has died, but they've taken sick with it, and it's but man, it's just.
You hate to wish it on anybody, but X number of people are going. It might as well be the correct ones.
Yeah,
and that's as spiritual. And that's as spiritual as I get.
Yeah. Get bitten by their own snake. I mean, that's the price you pay for holding rattlesnakes in your hand. Hopefully you get bitten by the rattlers.
Yeah. But in this case, they can pass it on to non-deserving folks, and that ain't good.
Here's another thing, Ralph. You're seeing businesses now refusing to contribute to the GOP simply because they're remaining silent on this issue. Like Marriott said, we will no longer donate money to the GOP as long as you remain silent. Now, hopefully, that could lead to something good. In other words, if they're withholding money, that's really going to hit the Republicans right where they hurt. And you've got a split in the Republican Party, half Trump and half the others who are not for Trump. You might see a fragmentation of the party, kind of like what happened to the Democrats in the Civil War. Because, when Lincoln was elected in 1860, for the next 72 years, from 60 until FDR was elected in 32, the Democrats only won 4 of the next 18 presidential elections. I mean, it wasn't until FDR was elected in 32 that the Democrats actually became a majority party again. And who knows? Maybe history might repeat itself, but this time it's the GOP that's torn apart, fragmented, and rendered utterly helpless and impotent. I mean, think about miracles, Ralph. Think about that as a miracle, right?
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, man.
But
I mean,
it doesn't seem to be coming fast. It doesn't seem to be coming fast enough.
Well, we shall see, my friend. Yeah, I mean, for the past 50 years since Nixon, they've been killing us, Ralph. 50 years since Nixon, they've been killing us, Ralph. Just tearing us apart, brick by brick, stitch by stitch. And I know you've had to live through it longer than I have. I'm tired of it, and I know you're tired of it too, right,
well,
Ralph?
Thank you for reminding me, Matthew, and bless you and your youth.
Yeah. I mean, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
This has been a great show as usual. I talk to
Yeah.
the most interesting folks on the planet.
Yep.
On a regular basis, just to keep my own sanity, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matthew, for being you, Matthew DiBiase. And
Ralph, yeah, I love you, man. I love you, dude. I love you so much.
I'm easy to love, but unfortunately hard to forget.
You're unforgettable, baby. You're unforgettable.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much. As you know, the feeling is mutual. You've done a lot for me and the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. You are a gem, and I will be back before you know it.
You got it, Ralph.
That one was for you, my son Philip, if you're listening. And stay cool, everybody. Matthew DiBiase would say the same thing I'm saying.
Yeah.
Take some books, some lightly used children's books, over to the Head Start program in your community and donate them. Kids need it by nature of the beast.
Yep.
Kids need to read and get ready for school and develop a passion and enjoy reading. And it's important that you do that and make us both happy. Am I right, Matthew?
Yes, blessed are they who read. The more you read, the greater and stronger and braver you become. So read as much as you can, ladies and gentlemen. Kids, just read. Just read something, anything. Okay? Live your life.
Get that mind working, and once it starts, reading becomes fun and not a drudgery. Then you develop the passion for whatever it is you like. It must be tough to go to live life and get up every day and don't care about anything. And so this is good advice. Take it or not. Be well, stay healthy, and happy trails. Good night.
Happy trails, Ralph. Good night, man. Love you, man. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.